Okay, we'll begin the September 10th Architectural Board of Review meeting, and first order of business is to take roll. Member Cottrell.
Here.
Member Dahlman.
Here.
Member Deegan.
Here.
Member Wicks.
Here.
Member Stratoff.
Here.
And Member Kerouac is absent. And Chair Hunter, you're there on Zoom, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Bob was telling me, even though he can participate via Zoom, and obviously we have a quorum of members here physically present to conduct business. So Bob was telling me, even though he can participate via Zoom, he can't really chair the meeting via Zoom. So therefore, we should elect a chairman pro tem, right, Bob?
That's right.
Okay. So therefore, does someone want to make a motion to elect somebody chairman pro tem?
I think, yeah, you should be the chairman.
Hi, Dave. So,
I'll second that.
someone has to first it, though, first.
Oh, are you firsting it?
Who? There's a motion to, for Ed to be
Okay.
chairman pro tem.
Okay. Art made a motion, and
I'll
you're,
second it.
and you're seconding it? Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Member Stratoff.
Aye.
Member Wicks.
Aye.
Member Deegan.
I guess aye.
Member Dahlman.
Aye.
Member Cottrell.
Aye.
And Member Hunter.
All right.
Okay. It's official. Ed is the chairman for the night. Here, you can slide down and have the gavel.
How exciting.
Slide your name down.
Bob will let you know if you're making any mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Bob's gonna be critiquing me from a distance.
right, yep.
Mike, you're gonna have to coach me through this.
Maybe we should.
Okay, yeah, so the first item is minutes. You'll probably want to ask me to ask if anyone has any minutes corrections. Minutes.
Just, everyone has the draft of the minutes from the previous meeting. Any comments or corrections?
I move the minutes be approved.
Second.
Okay, we can do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, so you want to call item 4 to the,
Item number 4, consideration of sign permit for, I'm gonna mispronounce this, River A Petit at 91 East Scranton Avenue.
come on up to the podium. Go ahead and tell us what you think we should know about your proposed sign and awning.
So we're basically keeping the same color scheme. We're just gonna do a black awning with our logo, which is just the wording Reverie Petite Cafe. It'll be in a white font. I believe I sent, Mike, you have some renderings, I believe.
Right. I can put those on the screen.
It'll be the same size as it was previously as well.
There we go, there's our awning drawing.
Art, do you want to kick it off?
You know, I really had no comment. I just walked by and the existing awning appears to be removed.
Yeah, they take it down and they clean it,
And
and then
then,
they wait for approval, obviously, before they,
the fabric gets applied to the existing frame.
exactly, correct.
Yeah, I have no real comment whatsoever. I mean, it looks fine to me. It complies with all of the requirements of the ordinance.
Right.
I agree, it looks fine to me.
I think it looks great, and I like the chairs.
Okay, good.
I think it looks great.
And, Bob Hunter, did you have any comments on the awning?
I think it looks good.
You want to ask
Can you hear me?
us to make a motion? Yes, we heard you, thanks.
Okay.
Can we have a motion then?
I move the sign be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, Scott seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Member Cottrell,
Aye.
Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Wicks,
Aye.
Member Stratoff,
Aye.
Member Hunter,
Aye.
and Chair Deegan.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. The sign's approved, the awning's approved.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, item number 5, moving on to design review for a sculpture and landscaping at the train station 600 North Sheridan.
Right. So we have Jody Mariano from Tesca with a landscape design, and
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Marietta Hans, and I'm the president of the Lake Bluff Garden Club. I'm here tonight to talk to you a little bit about the Garden Club, our history of giving to the village of Lake Bluff, and how excited the club is about the upcoming installation of Margot McMahon's dance sculpture. So just a little bit about the club. The club was founded in 1917. So in May of the coming year, the club will be 108 years old. That's one of the oldest garden clubs in Illinois. And we're founded on the principles and dedicated to the advancement of gardening, environmental awareness, and civic beautification. All of these efforts, hard work, come from a deep pride and love for Lake Bluff. Some of the work the club has done for the town: creation of Washington Park, ash tree replacement, bluff restoration, the dance sculpture we're going to talk about, the geese sculpture at the library. The club was also involved with the village gazebo and trees on Center Avenue. Our landscaping work includes gardening and creating beds at Lake Bluff Middle School, the Public Safety Building, the train station, the library, and the Veteran Memorial Living Wreath. So a little bit more about Margot McMahon. So in 1992, it was the club's 75th anniversary, and in honor of that anniversary, the club commissioned Margot McMahon to create a sculpture to depict the life in Lake Bluff, and the club donated that sculpture to Lake Bluff. I want to tell you a little bit about Margot McMahon so you get a deeper appreciation of the work of art we're talking about tonight. I'm going to read this. It's going to sound like a bio, and that's exactly what it is. Margot McMahon, a lifelong environmentalist, she views the human form as one with nature and creates symbols of this concept. Public sculpture commissions have been exhibited in her drawings throughout Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., Santa Fe, Cincinnati, and Connecticut. the Smithsonian, the Museum of Contemporary Art, the Chicago Historical Society, the Chicago Horticultural Society and Botanic Garden have her sculptures and drawings, as well as those included in private collections in New York, Florida, London, Paris, and the list goes on and on. Margot enjoys a process that goes like this. Her goal is to respond to the community, which she did for Lake Bluff. She researches the concepts of the humanistic and offers expressive interpretation of the concept. Margot has taught sculpting and drawing at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago, DePaul University, Yale University's Norfolk Summer School, and assistant taught at Yale University while earning her MFA. So this is the special artist the Garden Club commissioned to represent life in Lake Bluff, and the club is very excited about continuing this conversation. Jody, Drew, and I walked the village of Lake Bluff looking for a suitable site for the sculpture. As you recall, it was on the corner of Scranton and Center, and when the block was restored, the bed was removed, and the sculpture is being stored at the Public Safety Building. So when we came with Margot, we wanted to find a spot that she thought would be perfect. And she picked the spot that Jody's going to talk to you about this evening near the train station. She thought that would be a wonderful spot because not only when you stand there, you can have a beautiful view of Lake Bluff. Commuters coming and going from Lake Bluff would see the statue. People driving on Sheridan, driving on Scranton, so she thought it would be the perfect spot. Jody created a plan, and then Jody, Drew, and I walked back again and looked at the plan, made some more edits, and finally, we developed a committee at the Lake Bluff Garden Club specifically to review the plan, and the Garden Club members made changes to the plan, and that's the plan you're going to look at tonight. So thank you again for this opportunity to talk to you, and I look forward to the next phase of this whole project. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marietta, and good evening, everyone. For those that I haven't met yet, I'm Jody Mariano. I'm landscape architect with Tesca Associates. I'm going to share my screen and walk you through the plan. And I know that I could do that because I just did it. Okay. So the site that we're talking about is the site in front of the metro station. So just to orient you, here are the train tracks. Here is the metro station here. The front door to the metro is a little bit off of this page. But this is a large planting bed that sits just to the south side of the metro station. It's got some existing light poles and bollards that would stay. There's a large-ish landscape bed in this area here. There's a sidewalk that folks use to get from the Robert McClory bike path west to the train tracks. And also, this is the driveway. From the driveway, you can get into the station. You can also make your way to the platform through this way here. So this really is just a large green planting bed that kind of sits proud of the station area. So a couple of views, I'm sure everybody's familiar. But we're talking about this area here to the right side of my car. So there's a light bollard that would remain. To the right is the tracks. And the plantings in the middle are primarily hedged yews and other shrubs. They're getting clipped regularly, and part of the sustainability mission of the landscapes that we've been installing with the village is to use all straight species native plantings, things that don't require hedging and don't require special treatment. So there is not a plan to protect or preserve these plantings, but to replace them with new. I'll point out that this little corner right here has some broken concrete that would be replaced. Anyways, that kind of gives you an overview. And so I think to Marietta's point, the artist Margot was really interested in this site because you get views from all around. The sculpture kind of warrants views from multiple angles. Also, it's this gateway into the downtown from the train. Okay, so that's our site here. There is a concrete curb all the way around the planting bed. I'm going to show a plan that shows how we can provide some pathways through here and some seating areas. And in order to accommodate that and make a good connection to this east-west pathway, there would be a cut in the curb that would be replaced with other pavement material. I'll make this bigger. I don't know if that helps. Okay, so hang on, it just decided to conk out. The materials that we are planning to use are materials that we've got elsewhere in the village. So the sculpture, I'll highlight the sculpture here. The sculpture is made up of 3 Corten steel flat pieces. It represents a mother and a father and a child. I think that was right. And they're all set on piers. There's one anchor bolt that kind of goes straight into a concrete foundation. So there would be new foundations poured for this, but the intent is to position them similar to how they were positioned when they were in front of the Innovasi corner, which is pictured here, with plantings around them that you can appreciate it from all angles. There's also a donor plaque that all of these are stored in Public Works. We've been able to review them and measure them, so this donor plaque would also accompany the statue in the new location. The other materials that we're talking about introducing are the decomposed granite pathway material that you see here on the left. Actually, I happen to have a sample bag because Mike just gave it back to me, but this is the same material if anyone's been over to the Glen Avenue Bridge entry approach area, and I've got some photos that I can show of that too, but it's just a softer material. It can be stabilized with a stabilizer to keep it in place. So that is the material that we're looking at including. And then the bench is the same bench product that we've already installed at the Glen Avenue Bridge approach and also at the Sheridan Road bike area that we all worked together on some time ago. The plantings that we're looking at are all straight species native plantings. These are of the same species that we see in the downtown streetscape. So we're trying to carry forward this palette that we've been using in downtown. But when we're in the heart of downtown, there is a palette that we're using. When we're just outside of the downtown, we're breaking away a little bit to make more natural materials. So for instance, the steel benches that are in downtown are those black steel benches. When we're outside of downtown, we're starting to use these other benches that have the wood slats that are made of a reclaimed ash tree, so it's incorporating some of that sustainable material. And then likewise, the pavement material outside of downtown can be this decomposed granite, because again, it's a little softer, a little bit more naturalistic, but not really an appropriate material in the heart of downtown. So anyways, the plant materials are materials that we've got here in downtown that we propose to use here at the sculpture garden as well, and also some taller stuff, serviceberry and spice bush. So with that, I'm going to take you through the plan. Okay, so this is the site area again. Wants to be slow. And just to orient, we're looking at the same view. So here is our pathway from the bike path west to the station platform, and then this is our metro station up here. This is the same curb that wraps around the whole planting bed, so there is no change to the concrete curb, no change to the sidewalk that's right here or the driveway that's over here. We're really only talking about landscaping on the inside. So from just a use standpoint, we're proposing a decomposed granite pathway that just wraps around here, provides an access that is not there today. If somebody wanted to have a place to rest or wait for a friend or wait for a train, it's just an alternative place to kind of appreciate the art and have a great view of downtown. The sculpture itself is proposed to be situated here in the center of the planting bed. These are the 3 panels that would be situated so you can appreciate it on all sides. The landscape bed would be slightly mounded up in the center, and the plantings that I showed photos of would be kind of cascading downward from there. So we have the lowest plantings, the things that can handle the most exposure to de-icing salts and pollutants associated with the roadway. Those are happening here at the perimeter. Those would be our sedges and prairie dropseed, and then it gets more wildflowery and fluffy once you kind of get up to the center. We have 2 benches, so one of our wood benches would be positioned in this location, facing the sculpture and east to downtown. Another bench would be positioned up here, and then for reference, this is that light bollard that exists today. So we'd have a bench with a view looking to the south to the sculpture. And then our plantings beyond the sculpture area include some plantings to provide buffering to the back of the bench here. We've got some shrubs and we've got some more of the sedges, and then a couple of understory trees here, the serviceberry. There is kind of a really tough area here for lawn to grow, so we were showing a spice bush and some prairie dropseed in that area as well. So it's really focused inward, but we're incorporating plant materials beyond just to kind of help frame that room. And so just like Marietta said, we've met 3 times. Each time in true Lake Bluff style, it's gotten simpler and simpler and simpler. But I think, we've gotten to a plan that we know the garden club and the artist are comfortable with, but we're here to answer any questions or comments that you all may have. And like I said, I've got photos of those other projects if you'd like to see other material photos.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Great. Why don't we start with some commentary? Art, you want to jump in?
To me, it all looks fine. One question I had is, it's a little unclear to me, the decomposed granite will be in front of both benches,
Yes.
and then there will be a little corner of exposed aggregate concrete?
Oh, yes, I should have talked about that. So when I pointed out in the existing photo that the concrete's cracked in this area, we want to replace it and replace it in kind. So today, there is this curb, I think you can see my cursor, that kind of follows around here, and then it comes across. So just the concrete would be replaced here because it needs to be replaced. But inside, and so that way you have a solid, accessible concrete walk that takes you from the metro station all the way to the platform, just like it does today, but with concrete that is better condition. And then we're proposing a score joint just to kind of continue this curved shape. Outside of this area where this concrete is to be replaced would be a 4-foot wide decomposed granite walk. And then on this side, a 2-foot wide decomposed granite walk. This walk doesn't really get you anywhere. It's not an accessible route. It's just an access point to the bench. But this walk here would be accessible. It would get you to the bike path. And the other thing to mention is that the curbs here would hold the plantings in because we have a little bit of grade change to contend with. Does that answer your question?
I guess one question is, since you're removing the concrete, why would you replace it with concrete rather than the decomposed granite?
Oh, sure. Well, we want to make sure that this is a truly ADA compliant, accessible path as it is today. The decomposed granite can be accessible, but it requires more maintenance to do so, so that stabilizer comes into play. But we know that this is a tough area with all of the plowing in the snow and the de-icing salts that we were wanting to be very conservative here.
That's really the only question I had that was kind of unclear to me.
Okay. Neil?
I like what you're doing. I guess one question I might have regarding the benches.
Yeah.
I like these benches. We're using them elsewhere. They're good looking. I do worry about the maintenance of them over time. Is there any kind of a plan for what happens in 2, 3, 4, or 5 years when the wood starts to deteriorate and needs attention?
Sure, I'm gonna pull up a photo just so everyone can see. These are the benches and the decomposed granite. Oh, good. These are the benches and the decomposed granite that we're proposing for the sculpture garden, and these are photographed here at the Glen Avenue Bridge approaches. So it's a steel frame, it's bolted into a concrete footing, and the wood is a distressed thermally treated modified ash tree, so it comes from the US, it's not coming from some overseas rainforest, for instance, like most benches do. But this is very durable because it's been thermally treated. If there was anything that needed to be addressed, for instance, if somebody really tried really hard to carve into it, it could be sanded away. It's thick enough that it can handle that sort of thing. It's tough to break the wood. It's distressed and thermally treated so that it's durable enough to handle all of this. And we've worked with this material on other projects that have been in place for 5+ years, and they've held up well. If it happens to be that a slat has to be replaced, it just bolts right to the frame. So the slat could be unbolted and the new slat could be bolted back. Some communities will purchase attic stock, so they'll have slats in the shop if they need, but I don't think that we did that here. So there are ways to deal with the maintenance, but really it's not any different from other benches that you would find outside, the same
That's
kind.
good, thank you. I'm glad that there's a plan for it.
Yeah,
Other than that, I'm very comfortable with what you're doing. Look forward to seeing the sculpture back.
thank you. Yeah, me too. It's sad in the in the shop. It needs to be out.
That was my question as well, so
Oh.
I feel like you answered that well. I really like the way that you guys are incorporating more native plants like that. I think that's really great.
Awesome.
And I like the way it ties in with everything else that's going on. And I think it's gonna be really pretty.
Thank you.
Scott? Yeah, I like it as well. Is there any lighting planned? Like,
So
if
we
any-
have existing lighting on the site, so I'll just point it out again. We've got a pole-mounted light right here, so it's like your standard pedestrian level pole, light pole. We've got a bollard light here, and I think we've got another bollard, we've got a pedestrian pole light here. But to answer your question, no, there is no plan for additional lighting. We did have to be mindful of budget, and so the intent is not to run new utility or do any sorts of major foundation work other than the foundations associated with the sculpture and the benches.
Okay.
It would be pretty to light the sculpture, but that's not in the budget, I'm guessing.
It would be pretty to light the sculpture. It's not currently in the budget, but if we were to
Yeah, it is.
light the sculpture, we just have to pull electrical from someplace and make sure that the existing loads can handle it, which it probably could. I mean, it's a low voltage type of thing, but it's a good comment and it's something we can certainly look into.
Should I ask Bob if he has any comments?
Yeah.
Bob Hunter, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Jody.
Hi, Bob.
Believe it or not, I was around when that original statue was put in. And my recollection was that Margot's idea was that these were a family playing in a field, more or less. And she was not looking to have a lot of high material around it. Now, if you can recall, when it was finally removed from the planter on the corner, the grasses had totally obliterated the little boy. You didn't even see him at all. And in looking at your plant material, I see that you've got some of this stuff, the switchgrass, that seems to be right next to the sculpture, and that gets 3 to 5 feet tall. And some of the other stuff is, 2 to 3 feet tall. And I'm just wondering if we're going to start to obliterate the sculpture once again. Otherwise, I think the plan is great.
Yeah, thank you. No, you have a really good eye. We do have switchgrass, and it's this kind of khaki color. There's 1, 2, 3 here and 1, 2, 3 here, but Your point is really well taken. We don't want to obliterate the sculpture. So maybe we just keep the switchgrass to here behind the bench, and the rest of the plant material, like you said, Bob, is 3 feet or less. So happy to make that change.
That would help, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Thank you.
Other than that, that's my only comment. Great.
Thank you.
We'd be glad to have it back.
Do you want to ask if someone wants to make a motion to approve with that change?
Anyone want to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll move that the design be approved with the change, changing the switchgrass to a lower plant.
Can I make a
Shorter plant.
clarification? The switchgrass around, the 6 switchgrass around the sculpture to be replaced, but I think we would still hang on to the 8 switchgrass behind the bench, if that's acceptable.
Yes,
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm sorry.
No
Yeah,
worries.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call vote. Member Stradiff,
Aye.
Member Wicks,
Aye.
Chair Deegan,
Aye.
Aye.
Member Dolman, Member Cottrell,
Aye.
and Member Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes, all approved.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ask one more question. When do you expect to do this, the timing?
So it has not gone out to bid yet, and I don't believe that all of the funding has been put together yet. So I think that, I know Drew didn't make it back yet, but he probably would have said that village is still working on securing funding, unless you have more information. I don't know.
No, I know that's really our.
Yep.
Once it was approved, then we were going to move forward with that.
Yeah, hopefully soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Scott, you probably want to tell us that you're recusing yourself?
Yes, I'm going to recuse myself for this next session because I'm going to be a presenter.
Okay. Want to call the yacht club?
Yeah. Item number 6, design review for the Lake Bluff Yacht Club at 503 Sunrise Avenue.
Members of the board, good evening. My name is Scott Stradiff, and I will be presenting this petition tonight on behalf of the Lake Bluff Yacht Club. Gretchen Seymour is also here tonight to field any specific questions you might have regarding the yacht club or the history of the club. The primary intent of this petition is to request approval of the proposed design for reconstruction of the Lake Bluff Yacht Club located on Sunrise Beach. Next slide. Since 1963, the Lake Bluff Yacht Club has provided boat storage on South Beach for local residents and members who share a love of sailing and getting out on the lake. The original yacht club structure was torn down recently to accommodate the development of the NSWRD water tank project. The club now intends to reconstruct its facility to accommodate the same boat storage for members and the community and to continue their mission as a world-class sunfish sailing club, offering the highest quality sailing programs, including racing instruction, family participation, social activities, and community involvement. We have initiated a comprehensive preliminary design process with all of the players associated with the project, including the Village of Lake Bluff, members of the North Shore Water Reclamation District, members of the Lake Bluff Yacht Club, resulting in the site layout and design we are presenting to you tonight. Next slide. This is the overall plat of survey showing the general footprint and location of the facility. Next slide. This is the proposed site layout. As you can see in this diagram, there were a number of obstacles to contend with when exploring options for the design layout of the new club. Maintaining specified distances from the multiple service access points of the water tank below. Additionally, there was a very strong emphasis on minimizing the encroachment of the beachfront area with the proposed design. The program called for 15.5 racking systems, providing a comparable amount of boat storage to what they had before. Also proposed in this diagram is a small, centrally located enclosed boat storage shelter to accommodate 2 Kodiak-style boats owned by the club. And then for security measures, there is an 8-foot tall perimeter fence with 3 separate access entry points shown on the diagram. Next slide. This is the east elevation showing the central storage shelter facing the beach and the adjacent entry gates and boat storage systems. Next slide. This is the north elevation showing the racking systems as well as how we are accommodating the natural grade elevation changes of the beachfront. This is a section detail of the boat storage and racking system. We are proposing a cedar timber structure consisting of 8x8 posts, 8x10 headers, 2x6 roof rafters with pre-cut rafter tails, and we are proposing a metal ribbed roof over the sailboat storage. Next slide. Excuse me. This is a diagram of the unistrut racking system proposed for the sailboat storage. There is also a real-life mock-up of this system at the Municipal Services Building. These racks, 15.5 in total, will be set inside of the proposed timber structure. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to hear your feedback on the conceptual design presented, and then perhaps have a deeper discussion regarding the continuity of materials, colors, and textures on all of the buildings along the beachfront. These are, number one, the building color. The Yacht Club's goal is to remain consistent with the other buildings. It is our understanding that the NSWRD is proposing sort of a creamy white or a creamy color to with the renovations that they're proposing. So we will stay consistent with or complementary to this, and then we pose the question, should the south shelter also follow suit to kind of create an overall continuity in the composition of all these buildings? The next slide. Actually, the next slide. So the south shelter has, for the roofing material, the south shelter has an architectural grade asphalt shingle in a terracotta color. The Yacht Club is proposing to match this shingle on their shelter as well. And then on the next slide, you will see a soffit and fascia detail on the south shelter, and we were planning on matching this detail as well. And then finally, there's perimeter fencing that we are considering. There's a number of options that we're considering, the highest level of which is this company, Palm Shield, and I think the Sanitary District is also proposing something from this company as well. We tend to like the staggered screening shown here in this photo, but again, we're open to discussion about this perimeter fence. Then on the next slide, sort of at the bottom end, the next slide, sort of at the bottom end of the spectrum of perimeter fencing, this is a photo of the perimeter fencing at Shore Acres Country Club, which is essentially just a chain link fence with some landscape screening. So, you know, budgets are in play here, and so we might consider a mix of these two types of fences around the perimeter, with the nicer fence being in the front and then stepping it down as we move around to the back of the facility. And then finally, I'll just show you a couple slides of some of the bridges that are in town and the footbridge that was recently constructed. These colors are kind of a greenish, nice green color, which perhaps we'd want to introduce down there as well. So with that, I hope the board has a clear understanding of the intent for the project, and I will now open it up for discussion. Thank you for your consideration.
Susan, you want to start us? No pressure.
I just have to say, this seems like such a very challenging project to incorporate all these requirements and buildings, and it's just, I think you guys have come up with a nice solution, and I know the budget is not exactly large either. I guess when I went down there, my comments were, I was wondering about the little building here that you've shown, and you sort of answered my question by saying that you're gonna match the details and probably the pitch of the roof and all of that. What are the things that look like doors, or, they almost look like windows? Does that, like, are those garage doors, or?
Yeah, that's just a suggested design for the garage door to kind of mimic a carriage-style door.
Okay. And then what's the material that the building is primarily made of?
It's likely going to be a horizontal lap siding,
Okay,
wood lap siding, or a ship lap.
okay. And that's wood? Would it be, it's wood? Or would it be like?
Painted wood.
Painted wood, okay. I
Yes.
was like, or is it like a composite, or?
I don't
does-
think so.
Does that like hold up down there with the water and all that? Is that okay?
Yeah, it holds up. I mean, it needs to be maintained just like the shelter, but
Okay,
it would hold up.
okay.
Similar materials to like what's on the fascia boards and the soffits down there on the shelter.
And they like go around and paint them when they need them to do and all that.
Yeah.
I love the flagpole. And what would the gates be? The little,
The gates would be made of the same material as the final selection of the perimeter fencing,
okay,
and they would operate in both directions, so they would swing in and out.
okay. And then are the things on either side of the gates, are those more of that fencing, or is that something else?
More of the fencing, and the fact the fencing goes in front of the boat storage shelters as well, so it really wraps around the entire perimeter of the facility. I just cut away in the drawing, so you
Oh,
can see
okay.
the side view of the storage
Oh,
shelter.
all right, so that whatever fencing we have is gonna come around the side and then go all the way across the front? Or,
It's gonna die into the sides of the garage structure, of the boat storage structure.
oh, okay.
Mainly for security
Yeah.
purposes, yeah.
Yeah. And then, once that fencing comes and dies into the, wait, is this the garage structure?
The garage structure is in the middle,
In the middle?
centrally located there.
So if the fencing comes in front, how do you access those gates?
How do you access the gates?
Yeah, so I'm not getting it, I think. All right, so the fencing comes in, down the side, and then you said it comes across the front and dies into the side of the little garage structure?
Correct.
But then,
And then the gate runs in front of the boat storage.
oh, okay, so that part that you drew is, the only part that's cut away is where the slanted roof part is?
Correct.
Ah, okay, I got it now, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Then the only other thing I was wondering is, I know there's a big budget, but do you think that the wood coming down to the sand will be durable? I'm worried about the wood for some reason. Like, do you think, that, I mean, maybe the budget doesn't allow, but on the other structure where the fireplace is, there's those plinth things that the two sort of poles are, that are that,
Yeah, can you go to that photo, Mike?
Which one am I going?
that one?
Yeah, or there's a closer up one, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
That
couple
one?
little,
Would it be too expensive to maybe put some of that, those rough block stuff like at the base of the building, or for transition?
there is an
there?
expense to it, but I completely agree. I think a stone knee wall, or like a
Yeah.
low little knee
Low
wall
little
around the,
Something around there to kind of, I don't know.
would really, and it would also tie the shelter together.
Yeah. so
Even
it's-
the little river rock, that would be.
Yeah, that would be
nice.
cool, but then I know that's like, now we're getting up there, like,
That's what it's gonna come down to.
yeah. And then then I had one other, I think that's it, except for, oh, I love the flag. That's
It's
all I got.
iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have, except for, it seems tricky with the grade, because I feel like it kind of slopes way up like that.
Yeah, there's
so-
quite a bit of drop.
Yeah, is that? did
I
they-
think we have it figured out, yeah.
Well, I think you did a good job with a really difficult project,
Thank you.
all of you.
They, what color do you expect the fence would be?
I think it's probably either going to be a kind of a dark bronze, which is what I believe the NSWRD is proposing, or potentially that greenish color that that was shown on the bridges, which I think really blends well with the green background. You can, in one of those photos, you can kind of see the bridge fence with the green background. It really kind of looks nice and
So
blends well.
This product is available in 3 different materials, right? Aluminum, composite, or vinyl. Do you know which one you guys are going to use?
I don't, and I think it's really going to come down to that's going to be there's going to be a lot of value engineering associated around that perimeter fence.
A concern I have with the fence is it's 100% visual blockage. And I get the feeling that people, when they're on the beach, when I'm on the beach, it might be fun to look in there and see what boats are behind there. But if there's a security reason that it has to be 100% blocked, well, that's a different story.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to. You probably have more experience than I do.
We heard both sides. We hear people who think it's, to your point, like,
you
how
want-
fun to,
Yeah, I think because it's being recorded, I think you have.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Seymour. Thanks so much. Yeah, I thank you for that comment, because we've heard both. People who say, we don't want to see, it can get messy in there with life jackets and things. And there are some, maybe me, who think that's part of the charm of our beach, to have that and see that. So, yeah.
You're open.
Or maybe there's a compromise somewhere that I would not like a chain link fence down there on any side. But maybe there's something in between that lets some vision through, but yet provides a front that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, there are a lot of options. I was noticing the Winter Club, that they have kind of a nice looking screening around the tennis courts. I was just driving by that. So there's a number of options, I think, and I think we're going to go through kind of a value engineering process and come up with the best solution.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say that I like the idea of what you're talking about as far as the roof of the shed you're building and it complementing the Park District shelter that's there. I like that. The discussion of, supporting the piers and so forth, if it's a fence that is opaque, then all of that kind of becomes moot. That, because that's gonna be within the compound and behind the fence and so forth. And then the last thing, it seems to me that really from a design standpoint, a very big deal is what that fence is gonna be.
I agree.
That, I imagine the board's gonna be very interested in knowing what you come up with.
Sure. The elevation view is what you're interested in?
I see if Bob wants to weigh in.
Sure. Bob Hunter, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, having pursued this thing or looked at this for a couple of years now, it's kind of gotten down to the minimum that it can be, primarily based on space configuration now and what the potential budget might be. So I think this is a good solution. I could not hear some of the comments about the fencing. But the fencing, as far as a protection of the vandalism of the boats, is a big deal. And the other thing is you don't want to create a ladder for somebody to be able to get over if you can help it. The fence is probably the most expensive piece of the entire project, or one of them anyway. And it's I think this is a good approach to the project. I like tying it together with the shelter house. And unfortunately, a lot of the good ideas are just maybe or maybe not in the budget. You know, we'll have to work that out with the contractors. And just one other just little thing for me is there's some real nautical flagpoles that have yard arms and things to allow people to run the American flag and the club flag and regatta flags and all. They're really cool. It would make this place look a little bit different than just a flagpole. But otherwise, I think it's good. I like the metal roof. The unistrut system for the racking is really a good idea. It's like a Tinker Toy set, and the method of supporting this whole structure is really difficult by itself because you have to stay above the lid of the water basin that's underneath it. But otherwise, you know, I think it's going in a good way. Been a lot of input over a lot of years.
Thanks, Bob.
What's next?
Do you want to ask for comments from the public here, audience?
Any comments from the public?
Hi, I'm George Russell, 448 Gurney Avenue. Bob, I hope you can hear me. To prepare for this meeting tonight, I reviewed the tape of the meeting back in March when you last had the North Shore facility on your docket, and towards the end of the meeting, I don't know if any of you remember, Bob made the comment that engineers don't know anything about this kind of stuff, so they really shouldn't be commenting on this. So I made it a particular point to make sure and come tonight and comment anyway. 35-year resident of the village. I hope, and I love the beach. It's one of the greatest aspects, if not the best aspect of the town. The yacht club has really worked very, very hard trying to pull this together. One feature that wasn't mentioned about the layout is that the layout as is now proposed, the front line, the east line of the compound will be approximately 14 feet back from where the old compound was, which creates a lot of nice usable beach area. So very much in favor of that. My good friend Dan Caldwell, 2 years ago when this started, commented about the earth tones down at the beach. And I think it would be very, very important to try and blend the outside perimeter fencing with the shelter that's there, the rock. Get those kind of colors. I heard the word dark browns for the fence. I hope it's not. I think that would pop. I don't think we want the fence, this facility, to really pop, in my opinion. But I'm an engineer, so I probably don't know. And yeah, I think I commented, the solid, I kind of cringed when I heard let's have an open fence where you can look in. Wow, it does get messy in there. Sorry, Gretchen, it gets really messy. Some of the boats don't look so good. There's always stuff laying around. I mean, when people, on the weekends or when the facility's being used, you can easily stick your head in the open gates and see, but please let's not go with an open fence. I think we would realize that's a mistake. So, thanks for your time.
Yeah, come on up, Mickey.
Hello, I'm Nan Caldwell. I live at 400 Ravine Avenue. And I just want to thank everybody who is committed to this process. The Yacht Club is an important part of our town. It's a community builder. It's important. And I think that this is wonderful work to address the needs of everybody who really loves the lakefront, the beach, and the beauty of this asset that is such an important part of our community. And I just want to say, you know, whatever we do to attend to the aesthetics, how it looks, to be sensitive to the natural surroundings of the sea and the sand and the rocks and the stone and the bluff and the leaves and the trees. You know, what we put down there now is what's going to be there for the next 50 to 100 years. So now's the time to do it right. And I think that if we do it right, you do it right, and continue with an ongoing conversation, people will be really grateful. So I am. Thank you.
Scott, is there any lighting going on, or?
Minimal. Yeah, I think we're just proposing a couple of lights inside the garage and a few outlets, and that's it.
I know people are really sensitive about like birds and just migrating patterns and things like that, right? Yeah.
I know Bob always gets a chance to weigh in. Do I get a chance to weigh in?
Sure.
I think it's
No, only
awesome.
Bob.
I think it's great.
Oh, thank you.
I think you did a really nice job. I think the palette kind of discussion that everybody's having, I think will evolve as the numbers evolve. But I think what you have in terms of layout is great. I think it, having been here since 2000 and seeing the yacht club before and what this is being proposed is great. So I love it. And I'll echo what Bob said about the yard arm, just because I think that's another cool way to enhance the design that you already have in play. I think it's awesome. So nice work.
Thanks.
So this is for a recommendation to village board, not for final approval here. So if we're at the point where you're ready to make a motion, anybody?
Are we recommending? I thought this was just design concepts and discussion as versus approval.
Well, I mean, it's up to the board whether this is fleshed out enough for your approval, or if you need other stuff details to come back. But if you're ready to approve, it is.
I think what I'm hearing is everybody's kind of on board with it, and there's some nuances that they're gonna need to work out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I, at least it sounds like I'm comfortable making a recommendation that we're, as a board, good with the design as a whole. Is that, everybody kind of on board with that?
And then you guys would come.
Mike, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Sure.
Mike?
Go ahead, Bob. Yep.
Yeah, at what stage can we begin to give stuff to the water district, who's gonna build this thing, and so that they can start to tell us what we can do and what we can't do from a financial standpoint? Because some of the ideas that are out here now are pretty good, but I don't know if they're kind of enhancements other than a change of plan. So are they planning on still getting started this fall, or are they just going to wait now until next spring? Because I think this is great, but we need to do a little bit further refinement based on maybe some cost alternatives.
Yeah, Bob, this is Gretchen. We had a meeting with them last week with the Water District, in which they indicated they would love to wrap this up this winter as part of this whole finishing process and be out of there. So I think that is their goal.
So they'd like to get into construction soon.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
right.
It sounds like the big question is the perimeter fence, so maybe you can approve the project and we can come back in front of you just with some fence details once we kind of get a little bit further down the road.
That's kind of where I'm going. Scott, because you've got your structural system pretty well defined with your Bigfoot system and you know the perimeter of the building and yeah, I think that you know there's no reason they couldn't at least start pricing stuff out like this and saying this is a good way to go.
And then,
Things like fencing and flagpoles they're not little, but they're
and then the color,
just ramping.
the finishes and color, is that, and then a follow-on discussion then, as well as when we do the fence? Right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so how do you want to frame it?
Yeah, so if someone, it sounds like we're talking about a motion to recommend approval of this project with the details on the fence and color to return for ABR approval, when that's finalized. So if someone wants to make a motion along those lines.
That was nice, the way you said that, so
I love
moved.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. And are you going to second
I'm
that?
gonna second it.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second, and I'll do the roll call vote. Member Cottrell.
Aye.
Member Dahlman.
Aye.
Member Wicks.
Aye.
Member Hunter.
Aye.
And Chair Deegan.
Aye.
And Member Stratiff is recused. So that is 5 ayes. And the motion is approved to recommend approval.
Thank you.
I guess I actually could have stayed on that.
Next?
Yeah, so next, I put the North Shore Water Reclamation District restrooms on the agenda because I knew, Bob wanted to talk about the restroom screens, and the material for those, which is potentially could be the same material that we're talking about for, the yacht club screens. So, just as a refresher, the yacht club had proposed, not from that slide. The yacht club had proposed a horizontal screen, but the problem with that is that it requires a double column at the corner, and the vertical screens can do a single column at the corner. And I know, Bob and others had commented on the double column not being elegant. So this, we're looking at the Palisade Fortress vertical, which is available in aluminum, composite, or vinyl, and then it's available in different colors depending on which one of those you choose. So, if you do aluminum, like the light beige is a available option there. And, even though the yacht club might not have the money for aluminum everywhere, I think the sanitary district is looking for a durable material, and they have only a very short distance of screening that they need to install. And I gotta go grab a power cord for my laptop before it dies.
There it goes.
So go ahead and discuss. What do you guys think of the screening for the restrooms, doors?
Art?
Well, it's not real clear to me exactly which of these. I've seen the plan, and I'm perfectly okay with the plan. I'm just not sure what screening they're talking about.
I think it's this one. think.
But it's this right here.
Yeah. Like you said, it's not much of it, it's just it's those L's right there.
Right,
Yeah, I think it's just those L's.
okay. I don't, it all seems fine to me. It's, I don't know what color they're going to use, but,
Oh, yeah.
And this
I
was
should-
the
I should
alternate
mention it.
design for the interior.
It is, but yeah, I should mention it anyway.
I'm not sure it's accessible for a start. Maybe it is, but,
There's enough room there to turn.
I don't know.
Yeah. We were just talking about the design that, the layout that Mickey Collins submitted, and I do think it's a better design, but as Art pointed out, we're not sure it's accessible.
Yeah, well, another issue is timing. You know, the sanitary district already redid their construction plans because we told them that, you know, we would approve the previous restroom design, but we just wanted the roof sloped from front to back instead of side to side. So they've just redone their construction drawings, you know, to match what we told them. So it would be awkward timing to ask them to change them again.
Other than that, if the screen is the only question, I almost have the same concerns that I had on the other one, that it's 100% visual blocking, and I don't know that that needs 100% visual blocking. Maybe it does.
Well, it appears to have some gaps when viewed.
Yeah, I was just reading their own words, 100% visual blocking.
All right, well, okay, I'll take their word too.
And the same thing, the color of the screen makes a big difference too.
Scott, you wanna jump in?
I would agree the color of the screen is an important thing to consider, especially if we match these two elements. You know, I'm concerned about too many competing elements down there, and I prefer really blending it as much as possible with the natural elements down there, and let the beach and the water take center stage, and have these be muted as much as possible.
Susan, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think, I agree with Scott. I think if we do the sort of fencing screening that we were talking about, I think it would be nice if it coordinated with whatever's going around the yacht club. Because there is a lot going on down there, and then that would just be one other thing, I think. So I totally think we should try to make those coordinate somehow. I mean, this drawing that was submitted, it eliminates the screen, which I guess is simpler, but to both of your points, I don't know if it's too late for it, and I don't know if that's truly wheelchair accessible.
Right, yeah, it does require several tight 90-degree turns with
Right.
the wheelchair going through that sequence.
I mean,
I think you need a 5-foot radius,
I don't
don't
know
you,
if
for,
do you
Yeah,
think that is one?
I don't think so.
yeah,
I'm
no.
not sure
I mean, you could go straight in and it would
Yeah,
qualify, but
I don't think.
Mhm.
Well, is
Yeah.
it possible to hold off on the screening until and do all the screening at one time? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Should we ask Bob if he had something we want to say?
Yeah.
Yep. Hey, Bob, did you want to comment about the screening?
Yeah, the screening is becoming a real sore point. And Before I comment about the screening, I should mention Mickey's drawing that she sent out. And I should say, that was where I started from revising the original toilet rooms. But the reason I kept them the size they are is because my feeling was that those were going to replace the changing rooms that were originally on the wish list of the yacht club. So that there's going to be more than just one or two people in there potentially at a time. Anyway, so that's why the size of it is. But I think we're going to get hung up on the screening for the toilet rooms because of the fencing of the yacht club. So if we can just hold both of those in abeyance for a while, I know that Steve Waters wants to get going on the rest of that building, but they can do that without the fencing. Maybe we come up with a different way to do the fencing, totally, or the screening.
The other thing I was talking to Bob about earlier today was just the question of whether we had any finishes left out there that we hadn't approved. I know at the end of the March 5th meeting, Tom Swartout had said he could, bring us samples of any finishes or anything we wanted to see. And I think there was some discussion about the looking at the sidewalk texture at Melody Farm. Bob went out and looked at it after the March 5th meeting. I don't know if anyone else remembers that. So I think the other question for the sanitary district, is there anything else out there that we still want to see from them for finish?
Mike, let me be specific about that.
Sure.
When Tom was in, many meetings ago, and he asked about the paving pattern and the material, and he said what he would be very happy with was the sidewalk that was outside of REI in Hawthorne Melody Farms, or whatever they call it. And I went down there and looked at it, and it is quite nice and quite simple, and it's just a very nice, smooth sand finish. It's quite delightful. It would be perfect down there for the whole plaza. So I would urge anybody that's over that direction to go to stand in front of REI and look down. I'm happy with that.
I had a question about the overall coloration and painting of that whole thing. How do we get to that? You know what I mean? Not the building that we're talking about, and then the one I think they're doing now, and then this one, and then if we're gonna paint the shelter, who pulls that all together?
Yeah, I mean, so that's us. I mean, we had talked about colors before. The sanitary district had originally proposed black for an accent color, and we asked them to change it to dark brown, the bronze brown. And so the diversion structure that's bare concrete now is going to get a cement plaster finish in the yellow to match the odor control building. And so that, and the restrooms are going to be a EFIS stucco, also the same yellow color matching the odor control building. So it's all going to be yellow with the dark brown accent.
So is that matching the color that's currently there now?
Yeah.
Oh, it is, okay.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Which is fine. Yeah, I think there was a picture in my presentation.
Right, yeah.
Kind of matches the sand, really, almost identical to the sand color.
And that was intentional, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can put it up if you want.
So that whole sort of thing is going to be that buff color with the bronze is what we're all saying.
Right, yeah.
And there's no changing that at this point, correct? That's pretty much.
Well, we
set.
told them they were approved for that.
Yeah.
So I guess that has implications for you guys.
I mean, I guess then at that point, we're really just down to the fencing, the color of the fence and the screening. Because we're gonna probably match the shingle of the shelter.
Right. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Those are two different colors, though.
Yeah. Yes.
Is the yellow you're
We
talking
matching?
about the building in the background?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could
versus the
match the
brick.
brick if they're not changing the brick. I guess that we should say to match the brick.
Yeah. That
The
would
brick
look a
is on the
lot better.
left?
Yeah,
There.
Yeah, I like the left one.
definitely.
The brick is on the right, is the brick. The darker yellow is brick. The odor control building, I think, is something like a stucco today, right?
Which one do you like? I like the darker brick one, or is it, maybe it's just a matter of preference.
You like the darker one?
I think I do.
I think when you go to, it seems to me when you
It might
take
look more
paint and
fresh.
try to match like a brick color, it never comes out quite like you hoped,
Right.
but it's closer than the yellow would be.
But I don't know if that's
Maybe
possible
it's,
with all these
maybe it's
buildings.
better to intentionally be a little different than look too much like you're trying to match and didn't quite
Sometimes that's
succeed.
right.
Sometimes.
I'm just gonna go out here and say this. I don't think those two go together. If we're keeping that brick, I don't think that yellow goes with that brick. I think it's really bright and, I know, I'm just saying, it looks like it's not done. It almost looks like
Can
primer.
you show the one
I
that
think
has
it
all
might
three
be
of
a
them
little
together?
bit of an illusion of the light, the way that light is hitting the building in that picture. I don't know if you have more
We could go down and look
pictures.
again.
Yeah,
Did they already, is that like the final coat of paint that they've already done?
no,
Oh,
I don't
good.
think they painted it yet.
I mean, actually, the
I
two
know-
outside structures are kind of a little more muted. You know,
Yeah.
they sort of blend with the sand a little bit.
I mean, to your point, when you try to match something to a brick, you're right, it doesn't always match, but I feel like we could get a better color than that.
I
One
agree.
that's there.
I agree with that,
Yeah. Like something that's tonally, maybe not exactly the brick color, but a tone of it, that looks just so kind of yellowy and harsh, or I don't know, not soft. Gretchen? Yeah. You know
If
what
they
I'm
were
saying?
to try to match the color, I'd like to see them buy some of the paint and do
Yeah,
about
like
an
put up
8-foot by
some
8-foot section of it.
swatches, I like that idea. I think, cause that's a very big building with not a lot of detail, and so that paint color is gonna be, there, like, it's gonna be noticeable,
Yeah.
just saying. And then your beautiful design is gonna have to be matching that too, so.
Does it though?
No, it doesn't, but how about in that range? You know, well, wait, what is the shelter? What's the,
Shelter is also kind of a sandy brown, kind of like the color of the sand, really.
yeah,
Pretty close.
I saw his elevation rendering and I'm going, you know, cedar, weathered shake, you know, and the yard arm out in front and just make it, why does it have to match those buildings? Those buildings are awful. So, sorry, I mean, like, I'm just, just go the other way.
How do you
Like,
really
turn left and go, yeah. I'm just, that's my opinion. I would just go the other way, yeah.
Let me throw a wild one out there, if you can hear me. You could go sort of the cubist route and paint that yellow thing like dark brown. And really don't even try and match it, just go a different direction, and maybe it's the color of the roof over on the shelter or something like that. And quit messing around trying to make it look like something it's not.
Which structure are you talking about?
I'm talking about the,
Odor control.
well, whatever it is, the yellow thing.
Yeah, the odor control building in back.
Odor building, right.
And then would you leave the restroom and the diversion structure in front to be
Yeah,
yellow?
let them be slightly different, so you got a little pile of different colored blocks.
Yeah.
well, okay, is there anybody who can do up like an elevation of the whole thing from one end to the other? That we can then like kind of look at some of the colors, like options or something? Because I feel like otherwise it's gonna look really hodgepodgey if we don't really kind of nail that whole row, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can either ask Scott to do it or we can ask the sanitary district to do it, whichever.
I mean, I
request
think we
wanna
can,
make.
yeah, I think we
Yeah.
could come up with something.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah. Photoshop,
okay, yep.
yeah.
Some pink colors and you're good to go.
So do,
Mike, has that building been painted already?
no, I don't think so.
That's not a new building.
Correct, it's not.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, just, okay, yeah, we already talked about, we had Mickey Collins's comments and email and all that you guys saw, okay. So do we want to continue this to October then, and Scott will work on a mock-up of the elevation, and then what we want to see eventually,
Free time.
some color swatches or mock-up from the sanitary
We need a
district?
subcommittee.
Well, I think for something like this, we need more than a color swatch that's that big. You know, I mean, you need a
mock-up.
5-foot section painted on the wall.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that. I think it's good once we get some ideas to like paint it up. I think it's really good. Because I think when it's in the bright sun and everything, to your point, it does look kind of different, I think. I mean, that color yellow maybe looked subtle at one point, but then when you really see it, and that much of it.
So we want to see mock-ups for the dark brown and the yellow, because we're talking about potentially having a building that's dark brown and a building that's yellow?
Which building would be yellow?
Well, the diversion structure and the restrooms, which are in front of the odor control building.
They're more of a sandy color, right? That's what you're describing?
Yeah, I guess so.
And I'm not sure what's gonna be dark brown, because that sounds oppressive to me. If you did
That
the whole
yellow.
building in dark brown.
That yellow building, I think. Bob was suggesting maybe we just paint that dark.
That was my thought, just sort of off the cuff thought.
Well, it has some detail on it in the stucco. And, you know, you might want to do something, you know, painting it to, you know, enhance that detail in some way.
The original plan from the sanitary district was to have dark brown rectangles up there between the details. The rectangles looked almost like, you know, fake louvers. And we had told them here not to do that, from
Yeah,
their
we thought
previous
it looked fake.
presentation. Yeah, right. On the other hand, if you don't think of them as fake louvers, if you just think of it as a dark background that enhances the detail, maybe it wasn't a bad idea, I don't know.
I think it calls too much attention to an ugly building.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
There's a color called Midsummer Night by Benjamin Moore that just kind of looks like the bark of a tree, you know, so it might just sort of help fade it away a little bit. But I think some mock-ups would help.
Yeah.
We'll brainstorm it and do some mock-ups.
Well, the brick itself
Scott,
is kind of like a sand color, and
What?
the brick itself that's on the other building is like a sand, almost like a sand color.
Yeah, I agree.
And, so if that building in the back was like a sand color, it would kind of disappear.
Well, the bathroom in the yacht club is going to cover up a certain amount of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Far right.
Very similar.
I remember that being impossible to match.
Yeah, once the yacht club's there, it'll cover up a lot of it.
Where are we?
Yeah. And the
Okay,
green
so, well, I think we probably want to continue this till
Combination
next
of
month, so we don't have to
Mhm.
mail notices out to everybody as we do when we start over again.
Because that does.
So would someone like to make a motion to continue it to our October meeting?
Yeah. Bring a picture of your house.
So moved.
I think it's almost the same.
So moved?
Our house.
In a second?
I'll second.
Let me second it. I never get to second anything.
Oh,
Okay, okay.
all right, Mr. Hunter.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Member Stradiff,
Here.
to continue it, to continue the restrooms to, next month's meeting.
Okay, aye.
Motion, yep. Member Wicks.
Aye.
Member Cottrell.
Aye.
Member Dahlman.
Aye.
Chair Deegan.
Aye.
And Member Hunter.
Aye.
Okay, all aye. It's continued.
Right.
Okay, almost done.
You done yet? No.
two relatively quick items. So, for the next two items, they're village items, Village Hall and the generator and trash enclosure at the Public Safety Building. We've hired Dave Mishka of Architectural Consulting Group to do some design work for us. And first of all, he will talk about Village Hall, where we want to replace some windows and doors for several reasons. We've got some rotting wood and a lack of energy efficiency. You probably all noticed that the front stairwell is either hot or cold every time you walk up there with the single pane glass and all that. So I will put our packet up on the screen, and Dave, you can go ahead and
Okay, thank you.
take it away.
Hi, Board. My name is Dave Mishka. I'm project manager with Architectural Consulting Group. As Mike said, we were hired to look at, on this project, to look at the building as a total in regard to the windows and doors that exist right now. There are a number of, we went through the building, spent some time going through none of the upper transom windows, but generally the first floor windows and the second floor windows. The first floor windows obviously are for lack of better words, original to the building. The tower windows are historic in nature. The windows themselves on the first floor are double hung, and they have is varying where they have varying size sashes. Upper sashes are generally smaller. The lower sashes are taller, especially, and that's evident in the front office there. When we did our review, what we found is that there's quite a bit of deterioration that is ongoing with the windows. The windows on the first floor generally, typically, are, for lack of better words, they're an insulated glazing unit, but they're very, very thin. It's almost like a single pane of glass, but it's an insulating unit. The windows downstairs they're in varying natures of operation. Some of them work. Some of the sash cords that are there are either disconnected or deteriorated. Some of the windows just wouldn't open. It's hard to work. Some of them have missing hardware, missing screens. But when you go out to the outside, we generally found that's where the deterioration is happening significantly, especially on the bottom sill portion. That's right on the bottom of the window. That's where all the water is coming in, and there's been quite a bit of deterioration. What we also, on the second floor here, you have casement models which swing out. That what we found is typically also some deterioration to the wood members. They're all wood. The sill pieces, again, are sloped, and where the water's sitting and where the jamb pieces, or the side of the windows, where they meet to the sill, is found to be deteriorated. Paint's peeling. The sills have this, it's cragging like starting of a, I'm going to say, for lack of better, is a wood rotting into it. What we would suggest, and also on the windows on the second floor here, there's a number of them that are missing hardware, non-operating. Some of them, there's a couple of them here that won't close properly or all the way. Weather stripping is, because of the age, is deteriorated. Again, missing screens, missing hardware, missing latches. So it just varies through all the windows here. What we were doing, and we came up with a drawing, we went through all the windows itself. The windows in the conference room here, the boardroom, the upper windows were not included. And these windows and the lower door windows in the conference room, they were reviewed, and especially downstairs, we didn't find any issues with the windows down there or the doors in this conference room area. It's pretty much from the tower and then working east and along the building to before where the addition really starts here. So again, we came up with a drawing to show what we have been in touch. Let me put it this way: in the tower area, there's six or seven, 8 windows, I think it is, that are historic in nature, and Mike, if you could scroll up a little bit.
Scroll up.
So we can see the bottom of the drawing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there you go. In the lower left corner, there are a number of windows, 6 or 7, 8 windows, that have what we call a sash leg to it. It's a sash profile. And so what we want to do is be able to keep that profile because it's persistent with the historic nature of the windows that are here. And also we're looking at keeping the window frames in the same narrow light that they are, the dimension, to again follow the historic nature of the building. The trim that goes around on the outside, and you can see it has been caulked over, painted over numerous, I don't know over how many years, and you can see the buildup of either over the deterioration or the paint over the caulking that was tried to apply. Second floor windows in particular showed a lot of caulk issues. So I don't know to the extent of how much that caulk up here is, pulled apart from the window frames itself. So there's quite a bit of, I'm going to say, the minimum maintenance work that has to be done up here, but we don't know to the extent of what's happening inside the window frames itself. These windows, I think, Mike, we said are 29 years old. They're done with the building here.
Yeah, right. These
Yeah.
windows up here.
Yeah, these windows up here.
1995
Yeah.
remodeling.
So the life cycle of the windows, I think, are with 20 years, something like that. We're over that. What we would recommend in our drawings of doing is, particularly on the first floor, is to be able to remove the windows out, replace them with, we're looking at, and we're talking to Marvin, who manufactures a lot of historic windows, what they would recommend to do, and we're under the agreement, to do what they call an exterior aluminum clad solid wood core window on the inside. So what you gain by that is, and also the glass, particularly on the first floor windows, would be double insulated. So we'd have, to meet all the energy codes and be higher insulated right now. What they would do then is, in talking to Marvin, they could work it out of pulling the window out of the frames from the outside and then pushing them back in, so that there's, and it would take very minimal amount of work on the inside to affect the casing that goes on the inside. So,
So these are Marvin inserts?
yeah, these up here in particular, I couldn't identify what's downstairs. But if you look on the insulated units up here in the boardroom, there's a little Marvin sticker, or it's embedded in the insulated glazing units. Marvin, I'm sure they would have it on their records. We have pretty good drawings of the existing conditions that are here, and we went through. What they would do also is, at the same time, because we want to match the exterior of the windows in the color, they said they have thousands of colors that we can pick from in regard to the color and the texture of the outside of the frames itself for the aluminum cladding. The interior, we could match, the stained finish of the wood itself, so you still have that wood look from the inside. On the first floor windows in particular, they also have what's called a panning, which is the exterior trim work that goes around the windows. That, again, is numerous profiles that they have that when we get into it, we'll do a mock-up of the window itself, and then we can pick from a number of trim pieces or panning that would reflect it. So when we're said and done, you'd be gaining, upgraded, energy-efficient, modern windows, but still following the flavor and the historic nature where it has to be, or the windows are here. And just real quick, I'm sorry, but what also we're intending on doing is part of our work is, once we move on to the next step, is to go ahead and then create a spec series and bid form so that we can go ahead and get bids for all of this work from the contractors. The other part of this, real quick, is the front door itself. We'd recommend on that, because there is quite a bit of wear on the threshold itself. If you look on and you can go down there and you see there's a kind of a carved out area, I think, from the wear and tear of the people entering. And plus the threshold on the bottom of the door itself is a little bit higher than what we'd have in regard to ADA requirements. So what we'd recommend to do is pull that door, replace it, replace the transom, the high window, and the side light itself, maintaining all the heights of the rails and the stiles and just put a lower clearance threshold on the ground so that we can then meet the ADA. We're still looking at possibilities, and I'm still in discussions. The front door right now is starting to sag, and you can see that when you do look at it, it goes from the hinge side, and the gap at the top gets larger and larger. That's going to affect, obviously, the pull that we have to meet for ADA. So there we're looking at either an insulated aluminum frame to maintain rigidity, and then particularly using the aluminum panning trim so it softens the look and takes into account the historical nature of the building itself. It's just not going to be this square modern the frame. I've also been in discussions with Marvin, and I keep saying Marvin because they're the ones that, there are a number of manufacturers, Pella, there's so many out there that do this. But Marvin has a commercial heavy-duty use entry door that follows historic nature. So we're in discussions with them about getting some of their samples. I just spoke to them today. They said they're somewhere in either Naperville or Westmont where they just did a very large job which had a historical door installed for a commercial application that can swing out and meet all the hardware requirements. So that's kind of a synopsis of this one.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Who has questions?
I might have missed this. Are the windows that are on here now clad on the exterior?
No.
Oh, they're not?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't say that. All the windows right now are wood.
Okay.
They're all wood. And that's where, when you look at it closely, you can see the painting that's been going on, and it's peeling. You can see where the wood is starting to split away a little bit on the frames itself.
So, if I understand, when the job is complete, all of the windows that you have changed, some windows will remain, but all of the ones that you've changed will be aluminum on the exterior.
Correct.
And the trim around them will be aluminum.
And the trim, exterior trim.
The exterior
Yes,
trim.
correct.
Just around the window?
Just around the window. Yeah. Yeah, all the windows, if memory serves right, they're all, especially on the first floor, are inset into the brick itself. So the window insert or replacement would go in, and then the trim would be applied onto the outside within the existing masonry opening, which is what it is right now. The second floor windows, the casement windows, they're obviously in stucco with trim work.
Do you make recommendations on how to flash that? Because I know sometimes when you're doing restoration work, it's
Yes.
you're compromising when you're flashing something.
Yes, and that was a concern in regard to, in particular, the second floor windows. The second floor windows have, on the sill portion in particular, they have a large sloped detail to it. Those are showing significant deterioration. when they pull the windows out, what we would require them to do is look first at the framing or the blocking that's holding the windows in. Anything that's deteriorated out, we would pull that out, put new blocking or framing in to make it a stable opening. And then what we recommend to do now, and which is common practice, is they place flashing tape around the window itself, the framing. And then in the corners, they put what they call the end dams. It's little rubber pieces, so that the whole window frame itself, before you even put the window in, is now waterproofed. Once you put the window in, then the gap that's between the window frames and the framing gets filled in with spray foam, so now that's adding another insulating value to it, so you don't have big gaps. Yeah, so back to that, we do recommend in our drawings, when we do the bid document drawings, how to flash and how to almost put a sill panning, I'm going to talk on the second floor here, over where the wood is deteriorated now, so that we can now, have a more an aluminum finished, more durable finish to it. Yeah.
Are the colors both interior and exterior to match what's existing?
Yes. Yeah.
Are they, like on the exterior metal, is it all factory finish?
It's, what we do is it's pre-finished on the exterior, and the reason being is because they bake it in. So it becomes, it's almost like an anodized finish on a storefront window, that dark bronze. It's all baked in, so that it's now integral part of it. Yeah. And like I said, Marvin in particular said they have 1,000 colors, So what we would do at the time is bring color swatch out here. Marvin's opening us up to they have a historical architect on staff. We would come out with him, and then we would walk again the building, so that he can bring his samples, he can see what he needs to do for profiling, and then we can develop swatches of colors of the aluminum and the profiles also at the same time. And in particular, it's a minor detail, but the sash leg that's on the 8 windows in the building on the tower, I dropped my granddaughter off at university. She goes to Iowa, and I'm walking around the buildings, and here's the same exact window with the aluminum sash profile into it. So it's interesting to see this in a different application, but somebody else ran into it. And those are, a good portion of those are historic buildings.
How did it look?
I have pictures. I mean, if you want to take, I'm old school, so I brought my pictures. But I mean, this is the profile of the sash leg. This is the upper sash.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And this one here, the third one is just a sample of what they have that's an aluminum panning that I'm talking about. It's not particular to your building, but it gives you the kind of a range of what they can fabricate out in regard to a profile that would go on the exterior trim of the building, in the window.
Recording stopped.
Well, I'm really sentimental, so for me, because it's such a historic building and it's so
Recording in progress.
Central to Bluff and history and all of that. Part of me is it kind of hurts to take them out a little bit, but I understand the issues, the maintenance, all of that. I think the part that I get more kind of is the front door. I think maybe because you're so interacting with that, you know what I mean, when you're coming in and out, and even when you said, that that thing is worn because so many people have come in and out. I feel like that's such a
it's the history of
kind of a thing. How do we deal with the ADA issue now, when it's like that? Is there another entrance that people come in, or?
No, that's really the public entrance. There's an entrance that goes directly to the first floor conference room, but the front door is really the main public entrance for meetings and all that. And it's intended to be ADA, and it almost is, other than the threshold being slightly too tall. That comes into the front lobby, and then there's the elevator up to here,
Right.
to the public meeting room.
So I guess, can you explain the door again one more time, the front, what the entry door would be one more time? I think I kind of zoned out during the door.
Yeah, well, in appearance, when it's all said and done, in appearance, it would again be an aluminum, let's just call it aluminum exterior. Could be wood interior, it could be, if we go with a all insulated glass or insulated frame, it could be all aluminum with wood trim on the inside. Again, pre-finished to the color to match.
But really, all these items are gonna look very similar to the current look, because even though it's aluminum, you see the anodized paint is gonna look very similar.
It's gonna
to
be,
the-
because, and that's what I'm trying to drive at. It's almost, when you're looking at what you have right now, you're gonna be looking, that's what the new one's gonna be looking like. It's just, for lack of a better word, it's gonna be more cleaned up or crisper because it's the trim, all the caulking has been straightened out and cleared out. And the threshold on the bottom, I understand about the historic, that's that history of it. But again, it's getting to a point that I think it's gonna, if we leave it, it's just gonna keep going down, and then we're gonna have to change something on it eventually. It's almost that function. We're trying to be very sensitive, obviously, to the historic nature of the building.
Right.
And the neighborhood, and the village, yeah. So what I'm trying to do is when you're all said and done, you're walking away from it saying, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I feel like the windows are one thing because you're kind of away from them and they're set in the brick and all. I think it's the door that I'm feeling like you're gonna interact with it. I don't know, something about the wood. I have to go look at it. I can't even remember what it looks like, but that's the part where I'm like hesitating, like, oh, are you sure you wanna get rid of the door?
This is a 1995 door.
Oh.
From the remodel.
I thought it was the original door.
I think the original door was probably solid wood from photos
Yeah,
we're seeing, but
right.
you wouldn't want solid wood there today because people run into each other going in and out, if you had solid wood, so they changed it to
Oh, all
a
right, well,
glass
I didn't know
door.
it was 1995. I thought
yeah.
it was like historical to the building, and I'm imagining this like worn, patinaed, like beautiful. Well, I guess then if it's only 1995, I don't know.
Then it's-
I'm
then
not
it's
sentimental about it
There it goes.
anymore.
Yeah, and I think all that wear in the threshold was from 1995 to today, just 29
Well,
years.
maybe it'll
worth of
wear
wear
again, right?
Well, this time we'll use aluminum instead of wood, so
There we go.
it'll last a little longer.
Okay, well, that answers that.
So are we being asked to approve this? Or is?
Yeah, that's a question, I guess, are you comfortable with granting an approval and, having staff and the consultant deal with the details, or do you have details that you want to see yourself at a future meeting? It's up to
How
the
does this
board.
work? If we approve it, then it goes out for bids the way it is, and then it comes back to the village board to approve the contract?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
These pictures are not pictures of the windows on this building.
No, that was just samples when I was out in University of Iowa. Again, that's just to give you a sample idea of what's possible. Because that's a real, if you look at that one in particular, that you had of that casing, that trim work, you can see that, it's a very complex profile. So that's all we're trying to show you there, that the possibilities are endless for what we can end up. And you on the building here right now have a much simpler profile. And it's not even, we just have to make a determination even that is historic in nature, even that, because of the way the windows have been changed around. It's just a decorative trim.
Bob Hunter, did you have comments or questions?
No, I don't. It sounds fairly thorough to me, very thorough. I guess I do have one question. The wood that's on the inside of the frame, um, right now, I think it's all oak. What would it be? Or would it just be painted to match?
It, well, let me do this. Let me do a little bit more research and see what their standard wood is on the windows that they provide. And then I'll get back to you, Mike, or the board and get that information.
The standard wood is pine.
Is
but
it
they
pine,
do- But they
isn't
do
it? Right.
offer mahogany, oak. You can
Okay.
get, if you go to their architectural, of course,
Yeah.
you're stepping up and.
Yeah.
but-
The Marvin rep said that this is a perfect, everybody has their different levels, but they said it's their upper level, the ultimate series. So, let me find out again what the wood is example. Again, it's gonna get into the cost here, right, as it goes up.
Right.
The finished product, we would have stained to match this, what's here now. Or if the board wants to change it.
Yeah, I would guess that those windows are pine.
Yeah.
And then all the trim around it is oak.
It's-
And
it
they
prob-
just stained the,
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right.
but it looks great, in the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we get you just gotta get a good stain person so that he can,
match it.
because the trim around here, we just match this, we just need to get a good person. And we provide that with the samples. Let's do a mock-up and let's see what you're gonna get so we can pick the shades of and what we're gonna get. Same thing for both inside and out.
Drew, did you have any comments?
Oh, hey, Drew. Oh, I'm sorry.
Village Administrator Trevor, nice to meet you. So I was just at the Historic Preservation Commission meeting, and I was trying to view your meeting onto our meeting. Didn't work out so well. They adjourned. But the question that was raised regarding this particular project was they were concerned about the windows, which, Mike, you described them as the last remaining original windows along the tower, the hose drying tower. And the question was there any sort of analysis or was it examined at all of the price to restore and repair those versus replace? And the general comment was, what would we achieve if we're really going for, I think that's the question they were asking. Has that been done? If not, should we? And so.
Yeah, I just, in regard to that, I just finished a project up in Chicago on Lawrence Avenue. It was Lawrence Lofts. It's an 8-story apartment. It was a hotel. It started out as a hotel, changed around, went into disrepair. It was a SRO for a number of years. The person bought it, and then they put first floor retail and 7 floors of condos, apartment condos. The first floor, just real quick, they changed it into a first floor retail operation, and that's where it came into the aluminum frame storefront windows with the aluminum paneling that I was talking about. The second floor windows there were, because they were so big and they were architecturally detailed, the city made a recommendation to the historic that they wanted those windows to stay. So we got in touch with a restorer that does this work. He actually, and these were 12-foot wide by 12-foot high windows. He had to do it right, pull the windows out, restore the windows in his shop, and the frames, and put in new glass. And when you start getting into everything, it starts changing the back set of the glass and where it really is. The cost was, I don't know exactly, but I remember when we got the bill back, it was phenomenal because of the person that had to pull it out and restore, get rid of any deteriorated pieces and try to restore it. You still end up, what you want to do with restoration is, yeah, it's possible. We could get bids to do that. A bid alternate. Right. And see what it would take I think that would be fairer than everybody.
So how many windows are you actually talking about?
Like 8 in the tower.
There's 8 in the
There's
tower.
8 to the tower.
Say it's 5,000 a window.
Yeah. I don't think it's price. I mean, I saw that at Fort Sheridan where they did that. They took them, sliced it vertically, made them thicker, added the thermal pane, and replaced the rotted pieces of wood. The problem with that is aluminum, when it's painted, looks like a good piece of wood that without a lot of imperfections. And, you're talking about going to a lot of expense to add the thermal pane, do all this and throw out the bad wood on the outside and put good wood there. But the problem is that even the good wood, doesn't last as long as the aluminum. The aluminum looks like good wood when it was painted, So you're going to a lot more expense to only end up with wood. I mean, if you're not doing a clear finish, which you don't want to do outside, wood, I mean, it's just a painted surface underneath the paint.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you're starting with an old substructure, and now I don't know what that length of time is going to be before you're going to have to replace a window somehow because the base wood itself is going bad, or it's not finished, and you're going to see particularly if it's the wood, I would say that with an aluminum, you're going to start seeing a difference in the texture, in the feel of the window, in the look of the window. You're going to start seeing that change. I mean, we could take a look at it and have a restorer look at it and give a bid alternate, like you said, so at least we could see, and see what are the pros and cons of it.
But I think it's clear to me that you want wood like a handrail or a surface you touch and that's close. When you're looking at a painted surface from 20 feet away, you see the paint to me. You don't see what's underneath the paint,
And thank you. The comment that was made across the street was the quality of wood that you're buying today versus old growth it's not going to last as long. And the idea that it's worth the repair. And, what you described, that, adding I don't know if there's a continuum on how far you go, right? Is it just replacing the bad wood and that we're going to say it's going to be drafty? You don't get the energy, but it's the same window. There's trade-offs. I mean, I don't know how far if there's options of how deep you go in that replacement. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so right now the windows we're losing all the air infiltration for operable windows that have never been operated in decades, because the sash weights aren't even connected, and yet we're letting air leak around the frame, because they were operable at one time. But there's no benefit to letting the air leak around the frame. You can't even see a difference. We'll replace the mullions, where they were, so the mullion divisions will be the same, and you'll have the improvement in function and no downside.
Yeah, and you'll have a new window.
Right, yeah.
For however long the building is going to last, another 100 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's really, I mean, you got to throw out the rotted wood. So you got to replace the rotted wood. You got to have the insulated glass. You got to have the thermal pane. You got to seal for air leaks. There's really no choices on how far you go. It's either aluminum or wood on the outside, but if it's wood, it's painted wood. I mean, you see the paint, Either way, you're looking at paint as the outside surface, to me.
Replace them.
Yeah. Replace them, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's preserving the appearance that I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's what our upfront goal is.
Yeah. There are companies that do an amazing job of replicating old windows. There's Parrot Windows. I don't know if you ever work with them, but it's a whole other level of cost, So
That's what I'm saying. The one we used at Lawrence was someplace in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's probably Parrot.
Yeah, because there's that limited skill set.
Yeah.
But it's that cost of coming down, taking it out, taking the shop, repairing it. It just, when you start looking at a new window in comparison to restoring, when you're gaining energy efficient, you got a new window. You're still restoring it, yes, but it's still an older window that you're starting with.
The risk of putting something like that in the documents as an alternate, as a bid alternate, is there may be contractors who don't want to do that, who would not bid on the project.
And there would, that's true. I mean, it's a limited skill set, like I said, so.
Right.
The Ford windows that are up here, the people that represent it, that they probably won't touch it. They probably know where to go, but it'll be a separate bid package from a different guy. Because the regular window installers that can handle this won't even touch a restoration.
If I understand this right, you're only talking about the ones in the tower?
No, we're talking, well, the ones in the tower,
Those are the only original windows,
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
else is 1995, yeah.
Yeah, I'm having trouble worrying about spending that kind of money for something that people are never gonna notice.
Yeah,
I like
it's pretty
the
far away.
concept of restoration, but in this case, I just don't think it's worth it.
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of, I mean, in the long run, that's what I'm trying to drive at, is you're still restoring it. Yes, you're restoring it to what it is, but it's still an older window. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not the rest of it. You're gaining that efficiency, the newness of the window, but still making it look like it's part of the building that it's always been.
So where are we at? Does the board want to approve this as is? Do you want to see more details next month, or what's your pleasure?
I would go forward as is and let it get out for bids.
Okay, do you want to make a motion?
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. We'll do the roll call vote. Member Cottrell,
Aye.
Member Dahlman,
Aye.
Member Wicks,
Aye.
Member Stradiff,
Aye.
Member Hunter,
Aye.
and Chair Deegan.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. It's approved. So then we have item number 9, the generator and trash enclosure over at the Public Safety Building. I'll do a quick intro and then turn it over to Dave. So the history of this is we had a generator outside. Somewhere along the lines in the early 2000s, people decided to enclose it into part of the trash enclosure. And the unfortunate thing was the generator was placed very close. You see it ghosted in toward the top of the drawing there, the current location. The unfortunate thing is the generator was placed fairly close to the edge of the concrete slab. And so when they decided to enclose it with a wall, the wall was unfortunately too close to the generator. It wasn't getting enough air and really couldn't reach its maximum performance. So a few years ago, we removed that wall. We came here, you guys approved a nice 6-foot wood fence around the dumpster only, and the generator is out in the open air. And, it can get enough air to perform to its maximum efficiency. However, the downside of that is it's very noisy. And one situation where the fire department really experiences that is if there's a storm and a power outage, oftentimes they're trying to have a group meeting in their garage to talk about, whatever they've got to do going on with the storm. And the generator running is so loud, you barely hear each other talk in the garage. So this is a 19-year-old generator. We may either replace the generator as part of this project, or we may defer the replacement for a few more years. We'll probably replace it within 5 years. But this proposal is to move the generator to the south and rotate it 90 degrees so it's running lengthwise, and have the garbage to the north, and that'll allow us to enclose both the generator and the garbage in a fence, and have generator still, breathe enough air and function and have the sound, kind of pointing away from the building. And we could, if we use the existing generator, we could put sound attenuating panels on the inside of the fence. If we do a new generator, we could buy a quiet one. And with that, I guess what else do you have to add, Dave?
Not a lot. The existing generator, when we reviewed it right now, doesn't have any sound attenuating items itself. There's no sound enclosure. It's just a sheet metal enclosure with all the openings in it for ventilation. So, any of the sound that does come out and generate out of the generator is just going in all directions, and it just happens to be open right to the fire station building itself. So, like Mike was saying, the generators right now, for my research, their general lifespan is about 25 years. So we're coming up to that. It's about almost 20 years here. So by moving the generator away from the location that it is now, almost flipping the generator and the trash enclosure, what we'd be doing is getting that sound source away from the fire station, making the enclosure and the pad larger so that we can now provide the proper clearances for the service and for the proper airflow. And now it's further away, and we put a 6-foot-high fence, which in essence is matching what you have there on the trash enclosure itself, so that now that 6 feet will also help in aiding the sound that's coming out of the generator and pushing it up in the air, more than just directed at the existing fire station.
I'm surprised the generator, I've never heard the noise, but I'm surprised it makes that much noise, because most generators, if they're quiet, they're generally about the same as an automobile.
Yeah, and I will tell you, and I know you ran in it here, I was talking to Mike, the generator out at the Village Hall, they put a sound enclosure around it. Mm-hmm. The newer models of the generators right now, first of all, they're 20 years down the line from when this one was installed. It's more efficient running, the electrical usage, everything's more efficient of it. You can get now the sound enclosure itself over the newer ones, so that it's a lot quieter. It might be even a little bit smaller than what it is now, dealing with it. The day that I was out here, I'll tell you a quick story. When we were out here the first day looking at this, it was was it Tuesday when they do the tests of the generator? Mm-hmm. We were standing at the driveway on the west end. We could not hear each other talk. Mm-hmm. And it was like, my ears are hurting me, because it just was so loud. And so that's just once a month. Now, I don't know, how many times it does go off, because it should have a self-test generation on it too, to keep it cycled up and working. So that's why I'd recommend relocating it. I'd say, since you're doing all this work anyway, extending the wiring and the power wiring that go to that, is to get a new one, so we can gain that energy, that efficiency of a newer unit, the newer technology to it, and then put a sound enclosure around it too at the same time, just to do everything that we can to make it as quiet as possible.
So Bob, do you have any questions or comments on this one?
I'm just curious, that's a big generator, and it does the entire department, both sides of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm just wondering what a replacement cost for a generator for that is, and where, is that something that's in the village budget?
Well, that's too, Bob. I think just like we're doing on the windows, is we'd be putting a bid package together again, spec package, so we can put it out on the street to the contractors or to the generator supplier, and almost kind of let's see where the budget is going here so we can kind of figure out where we're going with this.
Yeah, so, yeah, we can make this layout work with either the existing generator or a new generator, so the same layout, the same fence around it and all that, and, you know, either new generator or existing generator will work there.
That's my only question. I have no
Yeah.
problem with the layout. It's just whether or not we, at this point in time, have the wherewithal to spend $50,000 or whatever it would be for a new generator.
Mhm.
And that's not our problem.
Right.
It's the ABR.
Right.
What is that current fence? I don't think
It's wood. It's a wood fence. It might be pine.
It's 6-inch, I'm sorry, it's a six, when I was there, it's a 6-inch slat cedar fence. It's a cedar fence. Yeah. And it's not staggered, it's just board right after the other, and there's a small gap between each one. And then there's the support structure behind it is aluminum tube, almost like a chain link type support, and that's all hung off, you know, the wood's hung off all that framework.
Anybody have any more comments?
Would someone like to make a motion to approve this?
I'll move to approve it
Okay,
as submitted.
okay. And would someone like to second?
Second.
Okay, Scott seconds. And we'll do a roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Dahlman?
Aye.
And Commissioner Cottrell?
Aye.
Bob Hunter?
I didn't hear the motion.
It was to approve as submitted.
That approve a new generator?
Well, I mean, I think the appearance is gonna be the same, whether the generator is new or existing. You know, you're really seeing the.
That's really
fence
not
around
within
it.
our purview as far as I'm concerned, whether it's a new generator or an old generator, and the fence is not gonna have any sound attenuation whatsoever, so, but at least it does what it's supposed to do, and it's gonna hide everything, so I approve it.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Thanks, Bob. And Chairman Deegan. Okay. Okay, so motion passes. All aye. Well, thanks, Dave. Thanks
Thank you.
for coming
Thank
out
you.
here and presenting that to us.
Thanks.
Unless anyone has anything else, unless someone could make a motion to adjourn.
I have a question.
Sure.
When I went to look at where the dancing sculpture is, there's a split
you.
rail fence that goes
Have a good night.
there, and it's falling down, it's broken and falling down. Who does that? Or do you report that to somebody, or?
Yeah, we've talked about that. The village would like to think that the railroad would pay for it. It kind of crosses property lines, so it's a little bit on village property, a little bit on railroad property. I'll have to remind Drew on that. That's probably on his,
List.
you know, list to remind the railroad again that we'd like them to, fix that or something. Yeah.
I was just wondering, I was like, I don't know, does anyone even know it's broken? I don't even know, did it just happen? I don't know.
Right, yeah, there's also some maintenance issues on the station and all that. We gotta sort out who's gonna pay for all that.
Whose problem it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Ed, you did a fantastic
You
job.
really did, you rocked it.
Well done.
Well, so good.
Bob, I'm not taking your seat, so don't worry.
So we still need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to it, can I make the motion?
No, you can't. You're
I
chairman.
can't do
You
anything.
make any
Bob can do
motions
it.
anymore.
I think
Yeah, Bob, would you like
Bob.
to make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I adjourned a long time ago.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. All in favor?
Hi.
Okay, the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, thank you, hope you feel better.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Feel better.
See you next month.
Yep.